And the notes from what book again?
These are notes from Intimate Communion. It's a book by
Where
David Deida. I think he also wrote. I think he wrote maybe *Sapiens*. If not *Sapiens*, he wrote another popular book about people.
the way of the superior man.
Oh, is that David Deida as well? That's
Absolutely.
Way of the Superior Man.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Um, in this particular chapter, I remember being so profoundly dumbfounded because I I still am looking for that. I still, at the time reading this book, 50-50 just made sense to me, especially
Mm.
if we're at an age now where we're not really planning for children. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not looking to create a household where we have to raise kids and stuff like that. So I think that this seems to be, it almost feels like an unprecedented way of dating when you're not, if you're dating to be married, but you don't intend to have kids. It's just like, what are you guys doing? Like, just date
Mhm.
casually. But if
Yeah.
you are trying to create a family and it's just a family of two and maybe some dogs or something like that, how does that work? And so, David Data, he showed me through this chapter specifically, how similar it is to what Esther Perel said about desire and how important cultivating desire is in a relationship. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your person to do something out of obligation. You want them ideally to do something because they want to do it, right? It's like, go
Mhm.
wash the dishes. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go wash the dishes. Well, I want you to want to walk to go wash the dishes. And I'm just like, yo, I just want peace in the house. So if peace in the house involves washing dishes, that's what I'm gonna do to have peace in the house. But to genuinely do something for the service of the relationship is super important. And desire is, or it should be, at the forefront of trying to make a relationship last. So I'm going to start off with this quote and just tell me what it brings out of you, or tell me what you think about this. It says on page 85, we are all trying to win something. Some of us want to make a lot of money. Some of us are hoping to find a lover. Whatever it is, once we get it, we hope things will be different. So talk to me.
Mm. Once we get it, we hope things will be different.
And I can help
Yeah,
you
I
like
think
this.
I think there's I think there's things the things that we want, like whether it's the relationship or the money or the whatever, the they're like I think that we think that those things represent, they're like symbolic of something deeper,
Hmm.
right?
Like
So
success or a deeper want.
absolutely. Yeah, just a deeper want that's not necessarily explicit in the thing that we say that we want. So like if we want um a companionship, if we want companionship, or we want a relationship, it's like, what do we want? We want companionship. We want to be loved. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel validated by someone else, right? If we want, a lot of money or accolades, like we want status, or we might want freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like the thing, we have our eyes on this object, and then that object is a symbol of something else that we want. And that's the thing about, like, that's why they say it's always about the journey to me, like in these situations, because the journey is what is really what you get out of it. The object at the end of the journey is not the prize. The
Mm,
prize is like how I got there and everything that I learned along the way,
right.
and just how I enjoyed the way of getting to the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. And I like that. Um, I was thinking about this too, coming from today point of view, because I think this book was written in the 90s. And in the 90s, we kind of had those like tropes. Girls are looking for love and men are looking for success and money and status, right? Girls are looking for
Mhm.
companionship and guys are looking for as much power as we can accrue. And in 2025, it feels like it's very convoluted. It feels like there
Mm.
is no one sex or the other that is looking for companionship more than the other, right? And it feels like
Mhm.
we are both definitely chasing the bag. You know what I mean? Like there's so many well-to-do women that are either in corporate America or climbing higher education so that they could have a better, status and things like that when it comes to like I know teachers that are still that are going for their doctorates, but it's like they want to still be in the school system, whether it's superintendent or something like that, but they actually still want to be somewhere there versus doing that so you can get a high paying job or you can get an illustrious career over here, something like that. So that is a huge difference, I think, over the last 20, 30, or close to 40 years since this book has been written. And it do you feel like there's I mean, majority, yes. I would say that we do still fall into those tropes of typically a heterosexual male is going to want status and power and resources and freedom over companionship or relationship. But do you think that I mean, people are being more centrist now? Like women are still looking for companionship and want to be married, but they are very much interested in making their own money and having their own access to resources.
I think values have shifted. You know what I'm saying? And
We talked
so
about that last time a little bit.
because values have shifted, and it's not like this heavily traditional, like church culture. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Catholic or Protestant, Baptist, whatever. Like it's not now that that's not a thing, and that's not the standard and the norm of like social acceptance. It's still marriage and companionship back in the day was for security,
Mm,
right? It does kind of go back to that conversation that we had about like what I was saying, how women are fundamentally insecure
mm,
in patriarchal society, especially in a society where back at a time pre DEI, right? Pre DEI, when it was all the men got all the jobs, and the women had to stay home and or at least the high paying jobs, right? And
mhm.
then women would stay home and raise the children, and or do daycare or do like house cleaning and or whatever the case might be. Or once they started getting jobs, it was just more administrative tasks and not like managerial and director and executive type.
Nothing
You know
with
what
a
I'm saying?
status. Yeah.
And so now, um, there are still, you know, uh, it's pockets of people that are still chasing companionship, but it's for security, right? Like the same reason why certain women chase after ball players and they want to be the girlfriend or the wife of a ball player. It's not for love,
Mm.
it's for security. They or even if they don't even have even if they don't get wifed up, they just want that baby. Because then if they get the baby, then
They
that
have
means
access to resources.
they get a part of the resources. You know what I'm saying? And so um it kind of everybody's still searching for security. And then now the game is different because women now have more opportunities in corporate America and they're getting their education, they can get their own security. So
Mhm.
now it's like I don't need to rely on a man for my security. So yeah, the game is different. So it's not to say that so the relationship game looks different because all the other areas of activity have been shifted a little bit. And so now I don't need security from you. I can get security over here. So now when I deal with you, it's more or less on my terms and more, business like as opposed to love. But it was never just love. It was social pressure and it was I need financial security
Mm.
and physical security. So
Yes. I love that you even went further and you talked about the exchange, right? A lot of it has
mhm.
become an exchange culture because we are no longer the things that we can exchange are more similar than they have been before. So before it's like you exchange security for loyalty, right? I need to
Mhm,
know whose
mhm,
children you have, and by you, you know, pledging yourself to this family or to me or whatever, then I know that my resources can be used for the children that you're bringing into this world. And I have
mhm,
no problem with that because you've pledged yourself to me and blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about all those fringe cases where people are stepping outside and doing all these different things, but, um, you know, traditionally that's how it's supposed to be. And nowadays it feels like what because people still want to get married, but it doesn't. I just have a hard time understanding what each of us wants. So this book kind of
Mhm.
helped me with that, and it also had to do with stages of maturity when it comes to in this book specifically, it talked about intimate communion as this kind of like I wouldn't say agape love, but it's this level where you are selfless in your love, right? You are
Mhm.
selfless and you are not being ruled by your thoughts and by your ego or by your desires. It is a love that is altruistic and it's something that you want to help develop in someone else as well, right? It's almost like a seed and plants. It's like, look, I want to love you and pour into you so you can become the plant that you are meant to be, and vice versa, hopefully, in the best case
Mhm.
scenario. And it says, some of my notes says, it benefits us to learn what male and females search and for what they want. It's not only different things, but they search for them in different ways as well, right? And I always think
Mhm.
about, I think about how when I'm dating, um, people, I'm direct, right? If I want something, I'm going to ask for it, and I don't know why it took me so long to understand that some women, many women aren't direct. And I think it's because I grew up with really like direct women. You know what I'm saying? Not only did I grow up in the Northeast in like the New York, New Jersey area, but I also grew up with children of immigrants and from cultures that are very much direct, whether it's Caribbean, whether it's West African. These are all direct cultures. So it's like, nah, I don't like that. But nah, I don't like that doesn't mean something else. It just means that I don't like, you know? So I'm
Mhm.
getting instead of like, yo, I want to come visit you, when can you spend time for me? It'll be something subtle like, oh, what do what are you doing this week? Oh, you're traveling? Oh, sure would be nice if you asked me to da 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 da. What? When are you
Sure
gonna
would be nice.
ask? Like, oh, okay. And it's so different that
Oh shucks.
ah, it's so
Gee
different
golly.
for me to really understand how, I guess it's just classically that's just not how the female sexual energy operates. The female sexual operates, she doesn't operate in going to get. She operates in resting and kind of like drawing you in, right? And pulling you in to her whatever she makes and things like that. So um
Yeah.
this chapter divided this into the what the man desires, it divided them into three stages.
Mhm.
And this was huge. I hope you enjoy this. The first stage is concerned with gaining. It's money, it's access, it's food, sex, power. The book says he sees freedom as something to get, right? So whenever people say, hey, you know what, in your early 20s, grind, grind, grind. At this time of your life, make sure that you're focused on, trying to see what the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to look like. So get as much resources, gain as much money as possible, have as much sex as possible so you know exactly what you want and what kind of person you want and da 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 da, what your flavors are. And if you can, connect yourselves with the people that are, connect yourself with powerful people. Whether or
Mhm.
not they accept you in their circle, become an apprentice of those people, make them your mentors so that they can teach you the game if they're not going to, bring you into their inner circles and things like that. And so that first level is a level that a lot of us get stuck on. That
Mhm.
first level drives so much of our lives, and I don't know if it's because of media. I don't know if it's because we don't know anything
Mhm.
else or what else, whatever else to strive for. But I was at that level well into my 30s without knowing this isn't something that, without knowing that this is just a stepping stool to get a step to get to somewhere else. Has that been the same for you, or did you know that access and um, resource gathering isn't the end all be all?
No, I mean, I think that's just the natural evolution of man. You know what I'm saying? As we evolve, I mean, that's the base level, right? That's the um, kind of the animalistic nature of us. You
Mm,
know, just wanting to gather and grow and build and you know what I'm saying and consume and just try to get as much as we can, right? Like that's just how things start out. Now, some of us stay polarized in that level and just kind of, and that's typically like most of society will stay in that kind of survival, pleasure,
mm,
my
mm,
my my God is my stomach type level. Like that's just basic. That's base level humanity. Not to say it like a whatever. It's a low thing, but that's
No,
what it is,
but
right?
I mean,
And
a base
so
still has to be a foundation, so a base definitely isn't
yeah,
negative. It's just
right.
that first level.
Yes, that's the first level, and it's a common level, and everybody can speak that language and
Mhm,
identify with that.
mhm.
So, yeah, for sure, like
Where
definitely.
if you just had to take a stab at it, I know I wouldn't have gotten this, but what would you think the second level is? Once that is either satisfied or once you know that you can only, accrue this many resources or you found that you have this type of power or wherever you are in the whole game, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind
Mhm,
of where your level is when it comes to your resources and what you're able to, or what
mhm.
you're comfortable with, things like that. What would you think humans seek next, or men specifically?
Um, I think I would see it as all humans for real. Like after you after that level, then you kind of go up to the level of being able to control all of those things and choose when to enter into that activity. Like
Mm,
you want to be the director of the ship of those activities as opposed to being directed by those, right?
I like that.
And so just that level of discipline, like kind of like what we talking about, like now, like when we were kids or whatever, you didn't want to eat vegetables or eat fruit, or you didn't necessarily want to work out. But as you get older, you're gonna realize like it would it would bode well for me to work out and watch what I eat, because if I just continue to live on a top ramen grilled cheese diet, it's not going to go well for me later in life. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Or this could be the latest life that I live if I
Mm,
continue to operate in that same fashion. And so I think the next level is like that discipline and doing what's best for you. And that's kind of like knowing what's right and wrong without someone having to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like when we're at that base level stage, like we're just doing what our nature drives us to do.
what our
But
hunger.
like somebody, yeah, what our hunger drives us to do, and our desires. But it's like somebody has to tell us, hey, yo, you gotta
Mm,
relax. Hey, okay, there should be some moderation with that. Like, hey, this is not befitting of a king or whatever. And then you get to the levels like, oh, okay, I don't need someone to check me now. I know my limits and I know what's best for me,
right.
and I know kind of like what would go well for others in the context of what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I think that next level is just having that awareness to take the steps to be disciplined and do what you need to do, to make sure that your sphere of activity is going exactly the way that you determine it, and that you are the driver of it, and you're not being driven by your nature, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Two
Yeah.
things. One, you really touched on it beautifully. But before I say what it is, I saw a reel today that was like, when it comes to discipline, when it comes to, choosing to say no to that grilled cheese and that top ramen and going for that steak and veggies, or just strictly veggies, or whatever it is, exercise is hard, right? Food discipline is hard,
Hmm.
but being ugly is harder.
Damn.
So society will
I
punish
thought
you.
you was about to go like I thought you was about to go to profound, and just like big profound.
But
Nah, you
that's
just
but
like
that's
wow.
this simple profundity really punched me in the face, because she was
That
like,
was a wop wop wop.
it really
Damn,
being ugly is harder. Being fat
that's
is harder, right? Being unattractive, or being unhealthy to where you can't walk up a flight of stairs without gasping, or you can't carry your groceries in the house without having to bend over, or you're having to go to the doctor because you're not active enough and your back is tight and your hamstrings are tight and you don't even know why you're having this slip disc, or why you're having a herniated this, or why your knees aren't. All of that is way harder than actually
mm,
going and exercising, than actually
absolutely
eating well. And that's what I meant by ugly. Doing all those things is way, or suffering from all that is way harder.
facts.
And that just got me thinking that this is the perfect chapter as well. But you talked about it, self improvement, knowing that even though you want to eat that burger over there, or you want to have that second slice of lasagna, or you want to have those gummy bears or that gushers or whatever, knowing that it doesn't behoove me to follow my desires or my hunger. And you talked about discipline, right?
Hmm.
Structure. But this takes it to another level and says, yes, self improvement, but also authenticity, right? Like, what
Hmm.
in my life, as I'm controlling these fears and as I'm, maneuvering through whatever corridors I'm going through, what speaks to me in a way that makes me feel like I could do this forever? And what speaks to
Hmm.
me in a way that feels like it's taking from me, right? So I really like that second stage is that we're coupling the discipline to say no to my desires with the higher desire of being more authentic to myself and my surroundings and what I'm here to do. The
Hmm.
book says, being in touch with your inner wisdom and creating a Garden of Eden on earth. Like that is what we're here to do on that second stage. It's like, okay,
Facts.
I can just be concerned about me, but on that second stage, now I want to be concerned about my community. Maybe not my whole community, but my block. You know what I'm saying? The people that live next to me or the people that I'm concerned with, checking in with you and making sure that you're eating well and that you're actually getting your 12,000 steps a day or whatever it is. Um, Trying to live that life through other people as well, not just being authentic to me, but trying to say, "Hey, what's authentic to us and the people that are close to me?" So, I love
Hmm.
that second level was beautiful to me, I think.
For sure.
Um, it also goes on to say, "Oh, no, this is the 3rd level." The 3rd level, huh, the 3rd
The third
level
level is authenticity.
no, that's the 2nd level. Authenticity and self-improvement,
Okay.
the 2nd level. The 3rd
Okay.
level, so interesting. This stage graduates from trying to control everything,
Hmm.
right? This stage
Hmm.
gives you access to the wisdom of everything you're trying to do is like water through your hands. It's like sand through your grip. You know what I'm saying? The more you try to hold on to it, the less you actually have, um, the less capable you are of holding. And this stage gives you the opportunity of letting go of self definition, relaxing into your endless search for completion. You know you'll never find it, you know you'll never achieve it, but at least you know that that is a road worth traveling. Instead of trying to accrue as many sky miles as humanly possible and try not to spend them or you know what I mean? Like trying to get the most
Hmm.
out of your credit card deals and things like that. Really letting go of whatever your self definition is. Really taking care to make sure that you know what follows I am. And
Hmm.
it better not be I am a doctor. I am a father. I am a this. Just really being careful what you put after that I am because um, your words mean things. So it's leaving that
That's that
idea.
God level.
That's that God level. That's that agape right there. Right. That's that for yourself
Mm.
though, not for the world, not this altruistic, being, but just for who you are, leaving the idea of
Mhm.
identity. And so I guess my question to you is, how do you think that shapes a relationship? Or how do you even progress into that when you're in a relationship, right? Because I can't imagine two people do it at the same pace. Um,
Mm.
but what does that look like in our imaginary? Like we both lived relationships where this wasn't the goal. This wasn't the goal for me. I'm sorry to speak for you, but I would imagine this may not have been your goal. But correct me if I'm wrong. But in a new relationship, what does that look like? How does that a release of self identity bode because your girl wants to make sure that her man is X, Y, and Z, or at least what we think our significant others want. How does that work for you in a committed relationship?
That's tough. I don't know. I really don't know because at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship, you have two worlds colliding.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And so when two worlds are colliding, it's no guarantee that you guys are going to be on the same level, right? And there's going to be more friction and more tension um, if you're in between levels,
mm,
right? And it's not even like I'm mad at you or I got a problem with you. It's just the circumstance, it's the situation, right? And so if you're on level 2 and your companion is on level 1 and they're eating everything in sight, or like they're stress eating, or they're whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like binging on whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, yo, what, can we be more productive with our time? Can we be more economical with how we, you know what I'm saying, do this and
One.
that? And they're like, well, I just feel like da 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 da. So leave me alone. Like, why are you judging me? I'm like, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, we could do
Right.
better.
Introduce
You
options.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But then they will see, one holding another to a different standard as judgment, or like maybe condescension, or you don't understand me, and it's so
Or
there
you're
could be
trying to change
tension.
them.
Yep.
And
And you're trying to change me, you're trying to
that's a huge issue.
control.
Control me.
Yeah. All of that. All of that, bro. And so that's just like in the context of relationship, how does it work? It probably looks like conflict, right? And that's why that's one of the things I'm realizing. Like, even though I'm not Christian no more, the Bible, it got some bars in there. So when the Bible talks about do not be unequally yoked,
Mm.
to me, when the way that I interpret that is like, y'all got to be on the same level, and y'all got to be you have to be in agreement in you want to be yoked equally, right? Like, and so if you know that you're operating on level 3 and that's all you want for yourself, and even though if you may slip, or not slip, but like go into level 2 or
Mhm.
something, you have your level 1
Oscillate
moments.
back and forth. Right, right.
3 is that's your standard, and that's your aspiration, and that's what you're aiming for. It's it's not fair to the other person. Not to say that it's not good and it's not ideal, but it's not fair for level 3 to hold level 1 to 3 standards. Level 1 is on level 1, and that's what they want, and they're cool with that, and they're content with that. Unless level 1 has expressed, I want to work my way up to level 3, and I want that to drive my energy and drive my day-to-day activity.
Mhm.
That's a whole nother thing. Then there's a semblance of being equally yoked, because we both want to operate on the same plane. But if somebody's like, no, I'm cool with this, I'm good, and you trying to do it, then the relationship, I don't think is going to work long term, because y'all not equally yoked. You know what I'm saying?
I, in your example, and maybe it's just an issue that I have with being equally yoked, is that um that assumes that you stay the same way your entire life. And I know that I was on level 1 at certain points of my life. And I was in relationships. I was in relationships that I thought would be long-term relationships at level 1. So if I were to
Hmm.
marry somebody, or if I were to engage in that long-term relationship, slowly I started learning about the world and my part in it and what I can do for myself. And you know, even people say like it's impossible to help anybody else. I think there's also like this term like there are no teachers in this world. They're all just students learning from each other. And some students know more than other students, but you can't teach anybody anything. They have to they teach themselves with the information that you provide them.
Hmm.
And so being equally yoked at level 1 is cool. But once I get exposed to information, or once I go on a trip, once I talk to this person in a plane that forever changes my life, and I go to level 2, I'm hoping to bring you with me. I'm hoping that you see this in the same way. I'm hoping that you engage with this new information in a way that works for the both of us. And
Hmm.
part of me appreciates the traditional aspect of a relationship, because you may not see it because you're still driven by your hungers and your desires and your emotions. But because I was too at a certain point in my life, but because I started reading, because I started meditating, because I started doing whatever it took for me to get control over my body, over my hunger, over my desires. Now I'm
Hmm.
moving over to this level. And hopefully you can see it by example and want to emulate or want to be a part of, man, why is he so bright? Why is he just like why is he moving so well? Why is he, you know what I'm saying? He's not as hungry as he used to be. He's only eating a couple of times a day or even a couple times a week kind of thing. Like what is it about him? And hopefully that brings the other person along with you. But that is not always the case, especially if you have
Right.
that person has their friends who are all okay with being with level one, and they have their community at
Hmm.
level one, and they have their
Hmm.
traditions, and they have all of their different, things that make level one just a joy to be. And so that level two, that level three grind is way harder, and you become less and less social. You become less and less involved in other people's lives. You become less and less. You have less and less desire to try to help this person, or volunteer over there, because it's just like, no, everybody's on their own path. Everybody has their own thing, and me volunteering my time to go perpetuate this system of like destitute destitute people, or people that think they have no path. It's just like, no, that doesn't work for me. I
Hmm.
actually want to move over here. And so I still can't understand. I can't wrap my mind around how you can get to those levels, you know. And now I get it, because I'm 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I get it, because I'm
Hmm.
gonna be like, oh, okay, well, I'm looking for somebody who's at least curious as to what the other aspects of life can be, right? Somebody that isn't
Hmm.
looking to maximize their 401k or their IRA, or try to fire, what is it, financial independent, retire early. Like, they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about, like, what is the richness of life? What are
Hmm.
we here to do? What is our purpose? What is our meaning? And where do you get our inspiration from? Is it from a book, or is it from that voice within? How do you date like that? Or how do you change a relationship to kind of like go along with your ascension? I don't know. And I don't know that's even possible. Right? We're all on our own path. So are you supposed to just like, okay, well, you stay there and I'm gonna do this? That doesn't work. You ever see
But
those?
I mean, that's what happens though. I mean, that's literally what happens. That's why people get together. They, it was a similar frequency they was at when they first met, or whatever. They had something in common, or whatever the case might be. Or maybe it was just a sexual attraction, but it might have had something in common. I met you at this event. Whatever. We were volunteering here, and we had this shared interest. But then you get to know one another, and you get in a relationship, and then you grow. You evolve, or maybe somebody's like, I'm not on that no more. You know what I'm saying? And relationships come and relationships go for that reason, because everybody is a world. Everybody is their own universe. So when worlds collide, it's just, you're gonna have to go with whatever direction serves you the best. And sometimes that direction may not serve you in the context of being connected with said person. And it's not personal. If somebody leaves that situation, it's like, it just doesn't work out for me. That's it. Whether it's marriage or not marriage. Like, that's why marriage is 50-50. Like, 50% of marriages end in divorce, because people are people, and we evolve and we change, and circumstances change, and we respond to circumstances differently. And what we wanted when we were 30 is different than what we want when we're 40, and when we're 45, and when we're 50. You know what I'm saying? And so, how does it work? It just plays out. You just really got to test it out and see what works for you, and then come back with a determination of, like, maybe you have certain criteria if you know exactly what you're looking for. 'Cause that's what it comes down to for every individual. Do you know what you're looking for? Do you know what you want? And are you, discriminately going down a list to see, like, I'm only gonna give my time to somebody that fits this criteria, because this is the profile, or this is the character of person that I'm looking for. And then when you get really discriminatory like that, it might take you longer to find that exact, archetype of a person. But if you know what you're looking for, then you go after it, and you see how well you're compatible with that archetype. Sometimes you might make that discrimination, and you be like, or that determination, and you're like, I really don't even like that type of person for real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
you
the
too much like
point.
me, and now we arguing about the shit that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I would rather be with somebody that wants to be more of a student than a teacher. You know what I'm saying? And so you just you gotta, test it out and see how it works out for you.
I want to see how we can do this in the context of committing to somebody and saying, hey, no matter what, this is where I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to do. And no matter how we grow, no matter this and the third, let's do this. I think I'm trying to figure out how to do that in that context. But the only pushback that
So
I'll give
so
you,
you're saying marriage.
yeah,
Is that
definitely, I'm
is that what
definitely
you're
thinking
saying?
marriage, definitely, because
Okay.
it's about, for me, it's about even if we change. But let me get to this part first. I think there's a real disservice that we do when we know what we want, when we know what we're looking for. And I think about this parable, and maybe it's a parable, maybe it's just a story that I hear. A man is drowning, a Christian man is drowning. And in his mind, he's like, you know what? I already know. I've been faithful to God. I've been service, I've lived my life service to God. I know God is going to rescue me. I know God is going to reach his hand down through the clouds and rescue me and pull me out of this ditch or out of this well, whatever he's drowning in, right? One guy passes him. Hey man, you need some help? Da, 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 da. Hey, I got this rope. Let me help you. The guy's like, no, God's got me. God's got me. I'm sure you know this. No, God's got me.
Mm-mm.
And then okay, so um that guy, he's like, no, I don't need your help. We're fine. God's got me. Guy leaves. Somebody else on a boat, maybe let's say he's in the ocean. Somebody else on a boat rides up to him. Hey man, you look like you need help, yo. Like you don't even have, that little whatever you got, that lifesaver isn't going to do much for you. You really need to, hop on this boat so we can rescue you. He's like, no, man, God is going to reach his hand down and rescue me. God has got me. I don't need your help. Third person comes, helicopter, circling around, circling around. Hey, man, we need to drop you down a ladder so we can help you out. Blah, blah, blah. Third. He's like, no, God's got me. I don't need your ladder. God's going to reach down and rescue me. Now, when you say that, as discerning as you can be, or when you start figuring out what you want, I think that really does a disservice, because just like that person, you're looking for your person to look a specific way, to do specific things. And like that person, you miss God giving you access to him because you have this image in your mind of what God is supposed to be, right? So that person ends up dying. He goes to heaven. He's asking God, like, yo, why'd you let me die? God's like, bro, I tried to rescue you 3 times. What are you talking about? And in that analogy, it gets me to think we can get hyper focused on these people that we want in our lives. So we're interviewing people, we're looking at their accolades, or we're looking at how they see the world, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're missing the fact that God is going to approach us, or these lessons are going to be learned in ways that we can't even imagine. Right? The truth is
Mhm.
stranger than fiction. The way that life sets up, or the way that things happen, you couldn't imagine it. You couldn't put that story together if you wanted to. So it's, how
Mhm.
do we keep ourselves open to the people that are supposed to be for us for as long as they're supposed to be for us? I think that if we can pledge ourselves to a relationship, that can happen. And hopefully, there are aspects of the traditional lifestyle that still are applicable to modern day relationships and marriage, right? So if, quote unquote, the man is the head of the household, and let's just say that instead of being the head, he is in charge of being spiritually responsible. So in whatever direction the house goes, whatever direction he chooses, that's kind of how the house goes. So if he decides, hey, we're not eating pork anymore, his wife's like, "Yo, I love my pork shoulders. I love my boneless spare rib tips. Like, stop trying to change me. This is what I want. This is who I am, and I don't need you telling me to do it on your time. This needs to be, if I want to do it, it needs to be done on my time." That to me is justifiable, but it doesn't breed a good relationship or a lasting relationship. So how do you convey that, hey, this is better for us, without having to convince your person? Your person just needs to follow that lead, knowing that she chose a person that is going to lead her, traditionally, in the direction that will best serve them in their relationship. What causes
I
that?
mean, there's no cookie, there's no right or wrong
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, I
It's
know.
just you go through the experience and you see how it works out. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes the one person will acquiesce to the leader, and other times they won't. And that's just the long and short of it. There is no like, if there was an answer to that question, then there would be a book. And then after that book was written, no one else would write another book because there's your answer. But there is no answer to that. It's like any other situation when you're dealing with people. You're just gonna People are gonna respond to the thing as it comes. And they
Mhm.
might feel a certain way one day, and then the next day, the next year, they feel differently. And They buy in and then they opt in and they opt out. It happens. You know
But
what I'm
can you give me
saying?
a
So,
could you give me an example of that when it comes to, I know we talked about religion a bunch, and, like, outside of
hmm
religion, is there something where you bought in, but then you changed, your partner changed, and that created incongruity in the relationship? Because things like diet or exercise or all of these things to me seem simple,
hmm
but it feels like if it's not on at your pace or when you wanted to do
how
it.
you gonna say it's simple when you know exercise is hard for most
No, no,
people?
no. No,
That's not simple.
it's not simple. Doing it, hold on, it's not easy, but simple. It is simple, it's not easy. Simple and easy aren't the
hmm
same thing, right? So exercise is simple.
Well, everything is simple. Eating a
Eating
piece
well
of
is
broccoli is simple.
yeah, but it's
Yeah,
not easy,
everything is simple, but obviously it's more complex than
for sure,
just the words on the what the words on the paper
for
convey.
sure, for
You know what
sure.
I'm saying? We are human beings that are led, not led by logic, but we're led by emotion and we're led by our desires and our animal nature. You know what I'm saying? And so until we rise above level one and get into level two, where we are the driver of the ship and not just a ship that's being carried
Mhm.
around and tossed to and fro on the water, then it's going to be hard to be able to do all the so-called simple things because the ocean is in control and not the ship in control of its voyage on the ocean. So you know what I'm saying? Some people are on a sailboat, some people on a cruise ship. It's different. We both got a boat, but the movement is different.
Right. Yeah.
The control, the pace is different. So we all boats, but we
Oof.
ain't traveling the same.
And we are definitely not. Some of us got engines, some of us are using the wind, some of us are just, kind of just trugging along.
Yeah, but it's
The
like
Good.
I just want to build onto that. So it's like even though, like I said, even though the notions may sound like, oh, just stop eating pork, or oh man, just stop celebrating Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like some of this stuff is like cultural. Some of this stuff is deeply ingrained. Like it doesn't just represent an activity, a line item on a spreadsheet.
Mhm.
This is what me and my family, this is what we do when we get
Identity.
together. This is my childhood. This is my great grandmother's recipe. We eat this every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. You mean to tell me I got to
Mhm.
break the tradition that has gone two, three, four, five generations down the line because you have some inclination to not do this? This is that thing that I'm doing is bigger than your little inclination to not do it. You go ahead, have at it, bro. But as far as me and my family and my body, this is what I'm gonna do. And that's kind of what how things play out from time to time. And it's not as simple as I'm gonna just abstain from this because I don't see it as useful.
Right.
So things could get very complex. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that having family around helps or hurts a relationship?
Absolutely helps. Depending on the context of one's family.
Yeah,
But
well,
if
let's
you
say
have,
the family's in
I would
support of
say,
the relationship and everything like that.
yeah. I mean, it just depends on if your family is supportive, your family is solid, or if your family is antagonistic and pessimistic and all the negative
Mm,
whatever. Then it doesn't help. So it just really is the context. I think having solid relationships around you, being in relationship with other people that have the similar type of relationship that you have, just having a network of people to be around and interact with on a regular basis, to know that everything that you're going through, you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? And it's not weird. Your partner isn't strange. Everybody is doing the same shit. Everybody is annoyed somehow, some way. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? Everybody is working through some type of conflict, dealing with communication, with money, with X, Y, and Z, right? Like everybody is dealing with those problems, right? And so this is how we do it. Oh, this is how we do it. Oh, this is what it's like. I like that. You know what I'm saying? So just it may not be family, but it could just be any whatever your sphere of influence is. Having solid relationships around you and solid people around you, having that support system. But obviously, if you have a good family and a reliable family and a trustworthy family, that helps 100 times more.
I agree with that. The reason why I asked that question, having family is it can be an immeasurable blessing. Two of my
Hmm.
closest friends, those children that they have two sets of grandparents who can come and get them whenever, who are just like always willing,
Hmm.
always. Hey, bring them over. You know what I'm saying? Like support, support, support. But when it comes to the example that you stated about, you know what I mean, like celebrating Christmas, right?
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
even if that's something that you want for your family, and then they hear that from their parents, "Oh, why is he doing that? This is what our family did." And it's just like, but you are no longer part of that family. You know what I mean? Like once you have your person, once you have your wife or your husband, like you have created your own family now. And so I wonder how many of those.
Well, you're still a part of that family. You
Yes,
can't.
but yes, of course, you can never like your blood. You're not going to disregard that family, but your family that you create is primary now, and there is a severance a little bit.
Hmm.
There is a line in the sand now that, hey, you know what? You guys don't have access to all of this the way that you did before. And this might be different from what we've done when I grew up, because when I grew up, you guys chose what we did. And now that I'm raising
Hmm.
my own
Hmm.
family, we're choosing what our children do. And
Oh yeah.
if we want to disconnect our children or our traditions from that, it seems easier to do it when you're away from family, right? It seems easier to do it
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
and your wife were to move to Texas and start your own thing and then find people that were doing that in Texas as well and say, "Oh, okay, well, yeah,
For
this is
sure.
kind of easy. We can do this." Um,
Hmm.
family in that regard makes it difficult to try to live in a way that you genuinely want to live, right? So I guess family,
Not
like anything else,
necessarily.
huh?
It just comes down to your household. Like your family isn't going to stop you from doing whatever you do in your household.
Not stop you, but they are definitely gonna make you feel a way if what you're doing isn't in line, or like let's say you stop eating pork. They're gonna look at you like, for what? You know what I'm saying? Like this is what we've done our whole lives. Like why? Oh, so Thanksgiving we have to make a special meal for you now, or Christmas you ain't eating no Christmas ham. Like what's up with y'all? They're not gonna tell you you
Well, I
can't do
mean,
that, but they are gonna make you feel like, hey, you're being, I don't know.
they're not going to I mean, well, that's where we get into the semantics. They're going to make you feel. Nobody can make you feel anything.
Yes,
Come on, Oba. You know that.
yes, of course.
Nobody can make you feel, either you feel that way based upon, the suggestion of what somebody said and you believe their words for whatever reason, or it's just like, I don't feel no type of like, y'all niggas got diabetes.
Mm,
Diabetes running your family.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't running in my family. With all
mm.
due respect, I love y'all, but I ain't eating no goddamn chitlins and
That
pig's feet and all
that's
that. Like
fine.
y'all can, like, nobody can ever shame me into eating shit that I didn't like. Like for instance, growing up, I hated greens.
Mm,
My family used to talk about, like, you ain't black. I didn't like watermelon. I ain't like greens or watermelon. Some of the blackest shit ever, bro. I just didn't like the texture. I
gotcha.
ain't like cabbage. I don't like okra. Like I could eat that stuff now. Actually love watermelon now, but when I was a kid, I couldn't stand it. They
Yeah,
made fun of
okra. I'm
me.
with you with okra, bro.
They couldn't shame me into eating that or liking it. Like I didn't care. Like I'm not eating that shit. It's gross. Like I'm a gag if I eat it.
Right,
Pause. So I'm
right.
just like, nah. Like y'all got that. And they get their jokes off, but they couldn't peer pressure me into eating some shit I ain't like. So I say that to say, like, it could make it hard if, like, you have this need or want to feel accepted or always be liked at, in every area or aspect of activity that you're into. But if you don't have the need to be included in everything, and you have a more stronger conviction of living by your standards as opposed to peer pressure, then you can do whatever you want to do if that's what you want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree with that, but family peer pressure is different from peer pressure, I imagine. I don't I like, I disconnected from all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I am not
Mm.
subject to my family telling me much of anything, and they've known that for a long time, but I try to, uh ideally, the person that I want to be coupled with has a strong connection to her family, and I want that to be something that she cherishes. But as I'm having this conversation with you now, I'm just like, does she have to have that, like, because she's gonna feel bad. They're not gonna make her feel bad, but she's gonna feel bad when she didn't talk to her parents for a week, or if we live out of state or out of the country, that she has to come back for Christmas because their family's always done Christmas together, and not spending Christmas with the
Mhm.
family just feels so strange, and that's not something that she wants to do. I just wonder, maybe that would work against me because I didn't have that family unit, so I would want somebody to have that family unit. But why? Maybe I do need to have somebody that is equally as like disconnected as me. We are coming to the last couple of minutes of this episode, and I kind of wanted to just bring this all the way back to the 50-50 conversation that I had before.
Mhm.
And there are also three stages of, I guess, relationships from a man and woman's point of view. And again, I guess we focus on a man's point of view because I mean, like, that's us. Like, that's what we can relate with.
Right.
Um,
It makes sense.
so the three stages of relationship. The first stage is dependence. And in the dependent stage, he gives her energy in a form of money, affection, security. She gives him affection. She gives him energy, excuse me, in a form of sex, admiration, and nurturing care. So those are things that they're
Mhm.
exchanging on that dependence level that I think it does still create that desire, right? Because it's almost a competition too. Like, oh, if I'm paying for this, or I'm taking you on this lavish weekend somewhere, or we're spending money on this restaurant, or we're going to this whatever game or concert or something like that, that creates that desire in the other person to either match or exceed that, right? So if she blew your mind, pause in the well, no pause, unpause.
That's not a
It's
pause.
not a pause at all.
That's
If
it's
she
not a
blew your
pause at
mind in the
all.
bedroom sexually, or she
Mhm.
gave you like a nurturing care that made you feel like you conquered the world, of course you're gonna want to build a bigger house for her. Of course you're gonna want to take her on whatever
Mhm.
cruise or whatever trip she wants to go on, and like spare no expense on that. And that's the dependence relationship, right? Like, you depend on me, I depend on you. We can't do either of these things for ourselves. Now the
Mhm.
50-50 relationship is, um from the male's perspective, is insight and discipline, right? So that's what he's
Mhm.
bringing to the relationship, and she's bringing intuition and healing. And I think what's so interesting about this level is desire is dead. As much as he can be a
Mhm.
leader, as much as he can have that self-discipline, that doesn't like make her, it doesn't cultivate desire. As intuitive as she can be, and maybe as healing, maybe she creates a beautiful home that you can come home to and feel serene and anything. That doesn't make you want to jump her bones. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make you want to like ravish her in a way that she feels appreciated or she feels loved. That doesn't create that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the last stage is the intimate communion stage. And the female has an ever radiant, heart opening love, and I feel like I've experienced that with some friends' parents. Like, the way that they are, that motherly love that she has is something that's just, it's otherworldly. And on
Mhm.
his end, there's a fearless pursuance and persistence in truth. So no matter how difficult the times may be, no matter what they, are going through, there is this steadfastness and there is this morality that he is unwavering in his convictions towards whatever. And
Mhm.
again, that level doesn't garner much desire. Maybe it could, but there's not much eros in any of those two levels. And I started to wonder, do relationships graduate past eros? Do they graduate past that exotic, that erotic love that we use as a binding agent? Or does it need to be carefully, like a little fire, does it need to be maintained throughout these three different levels of relationships? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the latter.
Hmm.
You just got to it's a balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all the things are important. I mean, obviously, like, once you get in your 60s and your 70s, yeah, the arrows ain't what it used
Ain't
to be.
hitting.
You know what I'm saying? Unless
Cialis
you
ain't gonna do it
got,
for you, buddy.
No, it might be Cialis, it might be pink horsepower, whatever you use. You might You might have something, and
But
then
even still,
with
that's
the
not
way that modern.
desire though. You know what I'm saying? Like that still is different than desire. You know what I mean?
Okay, not really,
So
but
the want to um the want to cultivate that into in the partner, right? So the
mhm,
partner maybe is like, "Oh my gosh, I would never do that. That's nasty." But because that person is so into you, they're just like, "Yo, do what you will," kind of thing. Or
mm,
um I never thought I'd be the kind of person that blah blah blah. I don't know what came over me. You just held me in a way and you just made me feel like it was okay to kind of like step outside what my boundaries usually are. I think that is specific to desire because there is something that makes them want to step out of themselves and just capitulate to whatever him or her capitulate to whatever their partner wants. I think
mm.
that is not. I guess that desire is a little bit different from the eros that I was talking about earlier. So thank you for that. But the desire is that little flame that I was talking about. How do you maintain that? Because the desire in those last two, the truth and the heartwarming love and all those different things, like that doesn't really create desire, does it? That doesn't create that longing, that wanting. But how did you read that? Maybe we're at a crossroads right now, or we're at a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the desire is kind of tripping me up because there's obviously a definition behind desire that I don't that you're using that I don't use, but um, I just think all of the things need to be done. Like you gotta water everything. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta care for your person, and you gotta be selfless. And um, but you would have a relationship with them to the point where that's I mean that's what you want to do. It's not like compulsive, or it can't be. There are no reflex patterns that can force you to do what is best for them. It's like you're doing it because that's what you want to do, and you love them, and you know them well enough, and that's what you want to serve your partner. So I
And
don't know. I don't think it's yeah. I don't think it's too complicated. It's just like that's just what you want to do, and that's why you do it.
that wants is what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like we can get caught up in the obligation. Oh well, I'm in a committed relationship, so this is what I need to do because I
Hmm.
chose this life. But that want, I think that's what I'm talking about. Like that want is something that
You're saying the want isn't it won't be there. You think it won't. It's not there for the people that are practicing it, or what are you saying?
yeah. I think that there are levels. I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, but there are levels of a relationship where you do because it's the right thing to do, or you act because it's incumbent upon you to be the person that you chose to be. And so 10,
No,
15,
I
20.
think I think people do what they want to do. Kind of like, it goes back to that conversation when you showed me the picture of the man taking a picture with his family. He looked
Mm,
mad. If he was really pissed off, he would have left. Like people opt out all the time. So people stay in situations because they want to. They're not. Nobody's obligated to be married. You can get a divorce.
yeah, we
Like
know a lot of
that's a
people.
thing.
I know a lot of people in really
You life has options. Not to say that obviously people don't stay in relationships longer than maybe they should
mm,
because it's not as healthy as it once was. But like people stay in situations because they choose to. They get up every day and choose to go through whatever they're going through. And then there's certain people that like they get to a point where it's like I'm not dealing with this
yeah, I hear
and
that.
I'm done. And so they'll just make that decision like I don't want to do this. Same thing with a job, same thing with a hobby, same thing with any activity. People will do what they want to do for as long as they have that desire to do it. And when that desire is gone, like, bro, I'm done with this. Like I had a strong desire to play Madden from the age of 14
I get
to
that.
about 27.
I get
And then
that,
I
but then
don't
you
feel
stop.
like doing playing
But you
Madden no
know
more.
that that doesn't apply to things that are good for you. You don't wanna go exercise. You don't wanna go eat these foods, but you know better than to just say, "If I don't want to do it, I'm still gonna do it." I think we have to save this for another episode because I really wanna get into the want, and we are coming up on our hour. So,
Mm,
Imma
it's
throw
a
all
great
of this.
stopping
Yes,
point.
this is a really good stopping point, and thank you all for being a part of this, and we'll see you soon.